Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Backpack Trader Training Room for Thursday, June 17th, 2021. Good morning, Al. Please do say hello, hit the like button, and let's jump right in this morning. Good morning, Miles. Pound Aussie starting at 8:30. Trade today gave us a short trade this morning. At 1.8424 in it. For some reason, mine didn't adjust that. But yeah, that would be correct. The trade has hit 3 targets, and the current stop is at 84.08 on my chart. I believe trade today, let's see what trade today has it for those of you following. Trade today has it at 84.12. So a little bit different this morning, but not terribly so. But that's going to be a one and done session on the Pound Aussie. Crude oil started at 9 a.m. Actually had this initial long that was a full stop out. Let's see if that was tradable. 9 o'clock 32 to 9 o'clock 53. Yeah, that should have been tradable. So unfortunately, a full stop out. And you have the short 901.05, 901.31. So yeah, that one's also tradable, and that so would have been 2 losses, and you have the stop and reverse at 78 if you continue to take the third trade. Trade plan says stop after 2 losses, so by the trade plan you would stop after that, but if you didn't, you pick up a target 1 on the third trade and 1 additional tick on the trailer, and that's the 9 a.m. session. Unleaded gas active this morning. Note we are on the August contract. I don't know if Troy mentioned that. Well, let's take a look at that. Miles, I think I knew we were going to be close. Yep, you're absolutely right. We're at 30,800 to 18,000. So yes, that has rolled over to November. I had not looked at that one yet this morning, but I know it had not rolled over yesterday, as I did look. So our potential get in sync is the add-on long trade on soybeans at 1305.50. But back to unleaded gas. We had the long, get some money management just misses target 1. So that's a break even. Doesn't trigger into the short. Triggers into the long for a stop and reverse. So that would be at 1636. I'm sorry, 34. 4-tick stop and reverse adjustment. Gets a target 1 and a 1-tick. And we get long trade from 1642 that we're still in and has hit target 2. So that one will definitely get us positive. And the stop currently, actually the stop has already been hit at 1709. So unleaded gas is also POQ. It took several trades to do it, but it's already done before we get to market open, which is right about now. And soybeans has picked up a long trade at 1308.25. Just hit target 1. That's at 1310 for 7 ticks. That's just barely above the minimum. 1308.50 for the stop, trailing stop. There's target 2. This is going to be a one and done session on soybeans. The Russell is flat. The YM way too far to get in on anything. Looks like my current stop is 84.03 on the pound Aussie. 84.06 for those following trade a day. So that quickly, we're done with 4 of our 6 charts, our 6 basic charts. So likely to be a very short morning. Looking for YM and the Russell, and that's all we have left to work with. Still the trailing stop still active on both the pound Aussie and soybeans. Soybeans through target 3. Currently, our stop is 1311.75. How's that for a quick morning? Actually, our very first trade of the morning was a get in sync at 8:30. So getting in sync right at 8:30 or just after. The pound Aussie heading downward. Russell and the YM with a big up move this morning, it looks like. Both of them are at session highs. Start time for ZS is 8:30 Central, Dawn, which is market open, which is 9:30 Eastern, which is what my timestamps are. Oh, look at, wait a minute, this, yeah, that long was 9:30. Oh, hell yeah, 27 seconds for the, so probably had a chance to get in it. May or may not have, just depends on the market. I wasn't watching it closely. If not, here is trade number 2, would be the add-on long. That's hit money management and stopping out at for a single tick. Target 2 was the target there. And the white trade has stopped out at 1314.50. The Russell with a short trade. $23.10.3. Just watching this to see how the Russell is going to continue to do with the 1.5 point momentum bar. I would like to have gotten that below the 20 SMA at 0.98. But yeah, that's going to be a 6 or 7 tick adjustment, which would just too big to make. You can wait for it to retest, and I think that would be a good idea. Wait for it to retest the session highs before taking that trade. That definitely looks like a reaction trade. And the YM continuing upward. And there is an SMA long trade on the YM at 13.7, would be 14.1, which would be the natural stop if you did get into the short trade. And definitely in that one. $31 tick target 1, so I would definitely take target 1 as a, yeah, I would take target 1 as a, on that one. Russell seemed to be stalling out a bit, and a short on the YM. 934. Similar situation. This one looks like it very well could be a reaction. I would wait and take this one if it tests the highs again. And I have the pound Aussie stop down to 84.01 now, 84.02 on trade a day. Okay, that's gone up far enough. I would go ahead and put in a get in sync order with this YM. If it comes back down, it was at 33. I would take that down to 29, get around the spike, the swing level. That's a plenty big trade. Get you below the 20 SMA, make sure it breaks through that, and get you around the swing level. Make sure it's going to break down through. And the Russell getting noisy now. It looks like it may have been well, the Russell doesn't look like it knows which way it wants to go, so probably not a good market to be in at the moment, at least on this chart. And a new long on soybeans if you're not positive, if you didn't catch the white trade. 1575 for the entry. And the YM short did trigger in at the adjusted entry. So stop at 971. And pushing down toward money management. At 904. And there's money management. So the YM getting money management on its first trade. And I believe, yep, there's target 1. So this will be a one and done session. And target 2. And the stop all the way down to 916 already. So if you took the stop and reverse to short, certainly would have taken it the second time down, and you've got on the Russell, you've got a target 2 and trailing. $908 for the YM stop now. And soybeans with a target 1. So hopefully that will be in fact, that should be enough to get us to a POQ trade for those that missed the early white trade. Stop now at 1316 flat. 903 for the current YM stop, now 896. And Pound Aussie taking some heat with our 84.01 stop. And stopping out at 84.01. T4 was hit. For those of you on trade today that are using all 5 positions. And the YM down through target 4. 891 is the current stop. All right, so 3 charts finished, 2 more inactive trades, and soybeans stopped out. So soybeans is definitely POQ, whether you got the white trade or the purple trade or the magenta trade. $878 for the 877 for the current YM stop. $871. The Russell at 086 for its stop. $851 for the YM stop. Bit of a home run trade here. Trailer down to just about target 4. Yeah, in fact, stop is down now below target 4 at 841. So big swings this morning on the YM. And the Russell has stopped out at 076. Any questions, anybody? YM is our only active trade now still with 841. Quick session this morning. The Russell, I think, is the only thing that's probably not absolutely positive yet. And it's going to be pretty close after that trade. I would not have taken the short unless it came back unless it had tested the high, which it didn't do before setting up the long. So actually, small loss on the long, and then the short, taking the short after it tested the highs again. You should be POQ on the Russell if you're trading that. That's not quite as clean as the rest of the charts, but still should be a POQ this morning. Wow. YM turning into a monster this morning. 823 for the current stop. And a new short on the Russell if necessary. Peaking just below the 50 or the 200 EMA. And as I say, that the way I would have traded that would be POQ at this point. So just waiting for the YM to complete is all. 811 for the current stop, and looks like we may be getting a pullback now that may take us out. Gotten as high as 809. That's where we are now. 808. So we're really close to that stop. Let's see if the balance line creates resistance, and it does seem to be, but still acting like it wants to bounce a little bit. Not surprising after the big moves this morning. I would expect some sort of reaction. Okay, now's the time to think about questions you want to ask, because there's not going to be much for me to talk about since we're just waiting for one last chart to finish. There's nothing to look at on the micro ES for catapult. And the Russell short just barely stopped out and then headed lower. Possible stop and burst along was filtered out by the squeeze filter. crude going too far to make this the current trade get in sync for the 10 o'clock session. So we'll look for a new setup there. And it looks like stop is at 8:03. And we are out of the YM. So that's a one and done session. And a very nice result on the YM this morning. No, you definitely should see setups there. It basically is just a spotlight default. But yeah, there's definitely a setup there. And if you didn't get up above the balance line, certainly there, that's going to be a big trade. That actually would have been the ideal setup, because that would have put you up above all the moving averages. That would have been the one I would really have liked to have been in, because it's going to give you big targets. You'd gotten a little bit less on the trailer, but not enough to be worried with. All right. Typo. It's a 14 tick range bar on NinjaTrader. Sorry. I didn't even notice that on the chart. 5 tick maximum bars for setup, or 5 bars for setup, 2 cancel bars, 2 tick entry offset, 2 tick stop offset, just basically standard 10 tick target 4 minimum, which actually, if you've got the newer calculator, you don't even have that input. I'm running the old SL calculator. That's the only place that input shows up. 0.9 money management target, 8 ticks minimum for money management, break even 1 tick, 2 tick trailer, 2 tick stop and reverse, which I'm not using on the chart. OSOB. And then and that's the green. The next one is green trade. The first one is the blue and pink. And dots to EMA setups, and I actually have all 3 set up from the diamond both for the diamond level as well. The 200 EMA and the 20 SMA setups. That's this dark blue and the magenta setup. Actually, if you're on the default calculator, that comes up initially as red, and I think the dark magenta, like the 200 EMA. You ready to move on down the list, Jim? Okay, that's just colors for the different trades. Balance line of 9, EMA 150, EMA 200, SMA 20. Dots to moving average ticks is 4. Histogram OSOB length is 14. Histo OSOB sensitivity 7. Crossover setup EMA is 5. That's your fast EMA. Crossover setup EMA 2 length is 21. That's your 521 crossover. This is equivalent to the diamond level calculator, by the way. Use the EMA crossover filter. This may be where it came from. No, because you definitely should have gotten the short. EMA crossbar color or crossbar count is, I've got it set to 8. The default comes up 20. EMA crossbar magenta. Use the squeeze filter. Using key level adjustments, minor. It has to hit on the 5s. So 1 tick adjustment on the 10s, and 50s, your range would be 2 ticks. But that's it. Something is strange about your data if your calculator matches up to that. Okay, so you don't have the EMA 2 and SMA setups and the thing, nor the crossover EMAs. So that shouldn't affect it, because this is all standard setups. Okay, yeah, you don't have a cross here. Well, let's see, you got a crossover back here. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So yeah, you definitely should have a long setup. That shouldn't, whether you're admin or not, shouldn't make any difference. Are you sure you haven't? No, even delayed data shouldn't make that difference. This was a pre-market around 8:30 Eastern this morning for the long, and then the short came in at 9:37. As I said, I held off on that one till it had gone up and given me, it didn't make a full test of the. If it had been a straight V reversal, I'd have missed it. No, I don't make any bones about that. But given that big a move, I really didn't want to be, and that strong a move pre-market, I didn't want to be too hasty on that at the open. I would expect a pullback initially, and I wanted to see which way it was going to go. Fortunately, it pulled back far enough that I was happy with the test, with at least a minimal test of the high. So I took it on the second time coming through the entry, and turned into a wonderful trade. Jim, are you charting the YM or and you are on the September contract, aren't you, Jim? That could also be it. Okay, you are using the micro YM. I have the micro AM off screen because then that's the one I use to trade as well. Yes, exactly. I used the setup as it is. I just waited for it. I didn't take it the first time through. I waited for it to test somewhere close to the session high before taking it the second time down through. They should be fairly close to the same. Okay, let me change my YM to a, because I'm done with that, to a sim chart, and I'll bring it over on screen. See, that's my MYM, which is very similar, and there were just a few points coming down that I noticed that the trailer was maybe one tick or so off. But that's exactly the same setup on this one. Now that's exactly what Troy talks about when you get a move like that and you get what could very well be a reaction move. You really don't want to be in a reaction trade or in a trade on a reaction move, because those are usually going to lose unless it's a big reaction, and that's a pretty big trade. You didn't let's see. Okay, did you check your crossover filter and see if it's at 8 or 20? Oh no, no, because I was already in the long before the crossover filter came in, so that wouldn't have mattered, or showing the long anyway. Al, it's interesting. You hear things when you're ready to hear them. And I understand. That's true for me too. I learn things when I'm ready for them, because this is a technique that Troy has been talking about for several months in the room. He and I both mentioned it a number of times when we get strong moves and then get that. Sometimes it's a V reversal, and this is a case where it almost was. And then we got a bit of a bearish flag going there, and then it's heading down again, another good short. But that's how my chart showed it, and how I played it. That's how Troy talks about handling those that are right up there at the end of a strong move. And don't be afraid to make it prove that it's going to come back down through there. Yeah, and that's like any other filter that we use. Sometimes it's not going to work. There will be V reversals that you miss. Now, there'll also be times when it goes up and tests, and comes down again and it really isn't going to go down. But you try to make the best out of what you see. And I saw one small little reaction, subsequent action coming before that. So that's why I wasn't looking for an absolute test of the session high. Most of the time, that's true. But you see, I saw this one back here, which told me that, well, you know, this is the second time it's pulled back to test at least the balance line. So I was willing to, and when it went a little more than halfway or so up back to test the high, I was willing to take it coming back down. But yeah, I agree. Better to miss a lower percentage trade, even if it's a winner, than to get stopped out. Jim, are you talking about you just got that yellow short when you say you just got the short? Okay. That's strange that you didn't have all of the other trades that I've got there. Okay, we're in the 10 o'clock session for crude, and all of a sudden crude has gotten active. And as I mentioned, that trade was going to not be something we could take, but we get the long, stopping, reversing into a short that hits targets 1 and 2. That should get you positive on that session. And that was another quick session. I missed that one completely, watching the other charts that we're looking at and taking a look at the YM. You too, Ivan. You have a good one. Everybody have a good weekend. Unless there are more questions, I think I'm going to go ahead and call it a morning. It's a short one today, but everything done positive. And I will see everybody Monday morning. Troy is going to be out next week, but I will have the Monday in all 5 sessions next week. So we will be on a regular schedule. It'll just be me all week rather than Troy and I. Any other questions this morning? You too, Miles. Jim? I don't know why you shouldn't be getting trades showing up on that, Jim. You didn't. You did have those first two OSOB trades showing up right after the use add-ons is not checked. Then you should have the next two, actually the next three setups active. Really, I get slightly different results from the YM and the MYM, but not terribly so. Oh, wait a minute. You said you were on... Oh, wait a minute. Yes. Oh, that's right. No, you is the right contract. That's a September contract. No, I don't know why you're getting that different. Because it should be it's a consolidated market. You should be getting basically the same data that I am. Did you just get that long trade that's set up? If you're seeing significantly different results with YM and MYM, my suggestion would be to chart the YM and set up a dome or a matrix, depending on which platform you're on. And if you want to trade the MYM, chart the YM and take the trades at those levels on the MYM. That shouldn't matter. But yeah, so I would say set up your chart on the YM and have a matrix for entering your orders that you'd use for order entry on the MYM. Okay, well, yeah, if it's just one additional trade on the YM, but I'm wondering why you don't have, because I've got a very active session on on the YM this morning. But yeah, that's a question why you aren't getting those other trades, because I don't see any. I don't see any reason any possible reason why that wouldn't have shown up. Well, the only possible reason I see it might not have shown up is for some reason your balance line was down below this bar. That would have been, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Still should have gotten a trade right here. Or here. So, there's no reason you shouldn't have gotten that short trade. There's 3 different places it could have shown up. 2 are really close to the balance line, but the third one is definite opportunity to get in. Do you have any let's see, do you have any pink or blue trades at all showing up? Because actually looking over this, the only thing I see, that's what, hey, Jim, if you were on the older version of Spotlight, you'd be on exactly the same thing I am. Because I'm on the old CL's calculator still. And that's Troy typically in the room is on the old CL, or I'm sorry, the old SL calculator as well. Just because they're not any, there is actually one input that's, or not, yeah, one input that's different, and that's just the ignore small trades. I wonder if, because that sounds odd, because these two, the pink here, the blue here, and then the blue that just happened. Did you get this blue one that just happened at 10:15? Or actually, it would be 9:15 if you're using TradeStation and using exchange time charts. That's what I was beginning to wonder. What about the one the next setting below that? That would be the green trade. But even if you had the green trades turned off, this should have been a pink trade. That would have been a pink trade. This would have been a blue trade. Another blue trade. Okay, good. Glad to get that fixed. All right. Any other questions this morning? Not a waste of time. That's all right. That's why we check through why you want to check through those things periodically. If something looks strange, and that's one of the reasons I like to check in the trade room, make sure my charts are looking like what Troy's running in the trade room. Make sure I haven't screwed something up. I've been known to do that. Not a waste of time at all. That's what we're here for. To work through some of those issues and help you find it yourself. So it'll be easier to find them next time. All right, folks. Looks like that's a wrap. So that's a wrap for the week, and I will see everybody on Monday. Unless I see some questions in the next 2 or 3 minutes, I'll give it to 10:30 and then shut it down then. Don't forget to hit the like button. That does help Troy's channel. And if you want to make sure you get notifications when we do go live, and actually you'll get a notification about 30 minutes ahead of when we have scheduled live shows, which all of our normal 5 sessions during the week are typically scheduled. So you would get you'd get a notice 30 minutes ahead, and you can always go down to the bottom of the homepage for the channel on YouTube, and you'll see the scheduled events, and you can always get into them before we actually start them there. If you don't get notices. Okay, the magenta candle is just an indicator that the crossover filter has reached the end of when it's going to filter trades. And I believe I saw a couple of those in the YM this morning, so that's a good place to look at it. Okay, the setting on my calculator, what Troy and I both run, is 8. So the magenta bar is indicating that's the 8th bar after the 50 crosses over the 200. So once the 50 crosses over, the system will not take a short trade against the 50 until the 8th bar, until after the 8th bar or after. So you see this one is filtered out, whereas this one is valid. And the reason is the first one is before the magenta bar, the second one is after. If I change that, go into the calculator and change that back to the default, which it comes up at 20. That's where Troy initially had that programmed as the default. We've found through testing and just general watching the indicator that 8 seems to be sufficient. There we go. So that's down here in the second grouping. Actually, the third page on mine here. Yeah, here we go. G02. It's going to be the numbering is the same. It may not look quite the same on TradeStation, but G02 is the EMA bar crossbar count. My calculator is set to 8. If I'll set that to 20, which is where the calculator will default unless you change it. And then of course this is where the color of that bar is set. I have it at the default magenta. And I will accept the 20, and we'll see what happens to this magenta bar when it repaints. See, now it's moved over here, but this trade still is valid because it's now a short below the 50 EMA. So it's not against the 50 EMA anymore. So that's why it's valid before the 20th bar. And we didn't quite get a crossover before it went back long. And now we get a crossover here where it goes back short. Now any of the EMA proximity trades are not affected by the crossover filter. Well, and two, this is a short. Now it would keep us from getting a long after that crossover until this magenta bar here. But see, this long is then after the magenta bar, which indicates the crossover filter is not active anymore. So that's what the magenta bar is all about. It's just a visual indicator that the crossover filter is no longer active. Did that answer your question, Pete? Yeah, put that back to 8 before I forget. And now we're back to the way we were before. So it's not a critical thing. It's just a visual indication that the crossover filter is off. After you get a crossover, in this case, the way the calculator set the 50 crossing over the 200. All right. I don't see any more questions, so I'm going to call it a morning and see everybody next week. Everybody have a good one.